afternoon, welcome back to the Mini Performance Workshop. Today I'm working on Austin again, as I said on the last video, when I was looking around the clubman behind me there. So the plan is to fit the half-moon seal in between the gearbox and the block, and hopefully that should seal it, and then we've got no more oil leaks, and then refit the front plate, and then all the timing gear that's associated with that. As you can see beside me there on the floor, there are all the bits and pieces I've got cleaned up. Your timing cover, the front plate over there, and they're the two seals. That one is the old flexible one. You can see where I've damaged it pulling it out, and you can see how easy that just flexes in my fingers, soft as anything. And this is the replacement one that gets pushed in, and that's the solid type, doesn't bend at all. To seal it in place, I'm going to use this stuff, which was recommended to me by Paul at the Classic Mini Garage. And basically I just put a load of that stuff on and just push the seal into place in that tiny little gap down there that you can probably hardly see. Obviously it's going to be really tight for getting my hands in there, so I don't think I'll be able to film it because there's just not enough room between in there to get the camera in. So what I'll do is I'll set to get that in place, and then once it's in, I'll just give you a little bit of crack about how easy or difficult it was and the best method I've found of doing it. Oh, the other new toy I've got is this. You can see that this is a top dead center indicator, which I got from Poland, and the beauty of this one is it fits in an 8-port, because anybody that has an 8-port knows that you have 10mm spark plugs, and the gap for getting tools and things in is quite tight. I chose this one because out of all the ones I could see on eBay and Google searching and stuff, this had the slimmest profile at the bottom end, where it went down into the cylinder head, down in there. And as you can see, it clears quite nicely on cylinder number 1. So that's my top dead center indicator, which I'll be needing for when I'm resetting the cam timing and checking the cam timing later on. Okay, it's in. It wasn't too bad to put in. Once you put the sealant on both sides of the actual seal, it slipped into the gap quite easily and just needed a little bit of a tap with the hammer just to make sure it was properly seated home. I don't know if you can see it in the bottom of there. That's it there in the centre of the frame. It's a little bit clarty stuff. It's obviously quite a sticky material, sticky sealant, and it looks to go off quite quick as well. But yeah, that's the half-moon seal in. So next job will be the front plate and gasket, and then after that the timing gear. Progress report. I finally got the timing gear back on. It was a real tight situation. It's a lot easier doing it when your engine's out of the car and you can line up the cam pulley to the keyway on the end of the cam, but when it's in there it's not very easy. So I've got that on. I've put my dial gauge, or the timing gauge, the circular disc, whatever you want to call it, that's on. I've got a pointer made for top dead center, and I put my top dead center tool into number 1 cylinder, and we've been able to gently rock the car backwards and forwards in gear to establish where top dead center is on number 1. I'll just show you the pictures of that. So there's my timing disc down there on the crank pulley, and there's my pointer for top dead center. Here's the top dead center tool into number 1 cylinder, and if I can just gently rock the car backwards and forwards, it's hard to see but you can see it moving, flicking about there. Top dead center is actually over this side somewhere. over on here. So I'm probably going to stop just there for now. The next job will be to take off the rocker cover to expose the rockers, and then I need to put my dial gauge on number 1 inlet valve, and then move the engine backwards and forwards a certain amount of lift, and then get the readings down on the timing disc for what that full lift is, and then see how far off my vernier cam gear is to establish the correct timing either side of top dead centre. So that'll be next job. Welcome back. Second part, or is it the third part? Another part of the ongoing saga of redoing Austin's cam timing. In the last video you saw me reassemble part of it and try and set the cam timing with my tools of purpose that are in the engine bay, but I've now finished with them, because the good news is the cam timing is now set. And when I say the cam timing is set, I mean it's set enough that I can't be asked to mess about with it anymore. It's as near as I can get it. I'm just chasing my tail. Obviously it's got a vernier cam gear on it, and you adjust it on the verniers, on the adjustment screws, and basically I'm ended up chasing my tail trying to find a fraction of a degree. Now if the engine had been out on a bench, it would have been a lot easier to do. I'm always fighting for space down this side of the engine, and it's much easier to adjust the engine and do the cam timing when you haven't got the cam gear on, because well, the rocker gear rather than the cam gear, because the rockers and the followers and the push rods are always acting against the cam, whereas when you're doing it on a fresh build with no head on and no rocker gear, you haven't got that extra force pushing on the cam, so it's really hard to turn the cam with all this lot fitted. And you've got the issue that forces acting on the cam can turn the cam away from the direction you want it to go as soon as you undo the verniers or the securing screws on the vernier cam gear. So it's been a bit of a palaver. It's probably taken, I would say, 2 weekends of bits and pieces, 2 afternoons really, of faffing about with this. And as I said, I've chased my tail a few times. I was 1 tooth out on the cam gear, so I had to take it all off a couple of times and adjust it, and then put it back on and try and get it to go on the cam. And trying to turn the cam was really difficult again, because as I've said, I've got the issue of all the cam being in action and the stuff pushing against it. So yeah, if I was doing this again, I would take the engine out. As you can see down in there, I've got the cam gear refitted. I've got the locking tab and the nut on, but it's not torqued up fully yet because I haven't got the correct socket with me to do that. I put the tensioner on just to help quieten it down, and that's as much as I can do at the moment until I get that correct size bolt and the right torque wrench for that bolt to tighten that up, and then I can flip the lock tab over, and then we can start reassembling the timing end cover, which is there, and then all these various bits and pieces that go back on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put the rocker cover back on and maybe see about what else I can reassemble without being able to do that cam gear up. And the answer is probably not much, to be honest. I'm cleaning it with spark plugs, refit those, because I took those out to help when I was moving the engine backwards and forwards, because the only way I could turn the engine over was to have it in gear and pushing the car backwards and forwards. So it's probably done 30 miles stationary. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I can do really. Just start reassembling, and then just come back another night when I've got that torque wrench to fit that bolt up tight.
Tick tock on every drop.